again that AA works. We are on page 177, I'm told here. Let's start where it says during all this time, which is the second full paragraph down. So last week again, in I say Dr. Bob's nightmare, but you might as well call it Kent's nightmare. We saw the progression of alcoholism. We saw the cost of alcoholism in Dr. Bob's wife and life. And not only somebody
so, but how do I have audio and make in
Indiana, you have to mute.
There's a mute right there. The mute's on.
Okay, the mute's on.
Indiana, you have to mute.
Mute. That's me.
Is everybody muted? Everybody needs to mute. Caller 04 and Indiana, you need to mute. All right. Oh. Okay, there we go. Caller, whoever is caller 04 on your ID, please mute. All right. So we saw the progression of alcoholism in Dr. Bob's life. We saw how it affected his health. We saw how it affected his education. We saw how it affected his family. And what I've asked each of you who are listening to me to take a look at your own life and your own experience and see how this thing seeped into every area of not only your life, but the lives of the people around you, okay? So let's continue here because we're going to see right at the outset tonight the family illness once again. During all this time, we became more or less ostracized by our friends. So people stopped inviting them over. Why did they stop inviting them over? Because of Dr. Bob's behavior, obviously. So the family begins again to take on all of the things that happen to the alcoholic. What is one of the things we talk about alcoholism being a disease that even when we're surrounded by people, and caller 04, you are still not muted. Whoever caller 04 is, you are not muted. Go in here, wait a minute.
You get ready to mute you already.
Hang on one second. Caller 04 is not muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can still hear you. You have to hit the mute button on the microphone. You have to tap the microphone. There's a little round button with a microphone.
Oh.
All right, so again, we see now Dr. Bob's family, right, being ostracized. It says we could not be invited out because I would surely get tight, and my wife dared not invite people in for the same reason. So now the family becomes isolated. Do you see how many people listening to me right now know that this happened to your family? That the relationships that your family has with other people have been directly affected by your alcoholism and drug addiction. I want you to stop and think about that, right? One of the most damnable lies that we tell each other and we tell ourselves is we ain't hurting anybody. And I can remember sitting around with a group of people who were living just like I was living, and we'd all be like, we ain't hurt nobody. Biggest lie ever told. How many of our families didn't go places? How many of our families stopped doing things that they enjoyed because of us? So stop and give that some thought. My phobia for sleeplessness demanded that I get drunk every night, but in order to get more liquor for the next night, I had to stay sober during the day so he could work and get paid at least up to 4 o'clock. This routine went on with few interruptions for 17 years. How many of us live that kind of pattern? Work all week to get paid, to take care of whatever you needed to take care of so you could party, right? Over and over and over again. How many of us did that? Dr. Bob said 17 years he did that. I could say for myself at least 15. That was, I had a job, but my routine was go to work, get paid, and do what I do. And that's it. And I lived in that cycle. And it's crazy because, like, I worked in a plant where we made good money. And people would come up to me and they would say, take a look at our new summer cabin. Here's the new boat I just bought. Here's the new house we're building, right? And I would be thinking to myself, what are you people doing, robbing banks? Right? I ain't got 2 nickels to rub together. Right? I worked at Ford Motor Company. So people were doing well and got nothing and could not understand how that was. That's how blind this thing makes you, right? I'm thinking, well, they must have inherited some money or they got some rich relatives or, you know, something like that. So I could just go on doing what I'm doing. I wish I had that going on, but I don't, right? I always tell new people, when you get sober, you get a job, you got a job, you get sober, you will automatically get a raise. You will automatically get a raise because you stop giving your money to the bartender and the dope man. You will automatically get a raise when you get sober. And some of you will find out that you make really good money, right? You will find that out. All right, let's continue. It was really a horrible nightmare. Just earning money, getting liquor, smuggling it home, getting drunk, morning jitters, taking large doses of sedatives to make it possible for me to earn more money, and so on ad nauseum, over and over and over again.
I like that.
Now he's going to say something here, and we'll stop and take a look at it, and we'll elaborate on this. Let's look at what he says next. I used to promise my wife, my friends, and my children that I would drink no more. Promises which seldom kept me sober even through the day, though I was very sincere when I made them. You know, I said repeatedly in this story, The Doctor's Nightmare, how we are, just like in Bill's story, we steeped in step 1 for most of the story. How many times after blowing another paycheck, facing another week of living like I was living, which if the money is gone on Friday, that means it's going to have to be some lying, some cheating, and some stealing for the next 6 days until we get paid again. How many times did I sit and say no more? I'm not doing this no more. I don't want to live like this. Next week, I'm going to take that check. I'm going to take care of what I got to take care of. I'm going to start living like a normal human being. How many times? I can tell you for at least 15 years of my life, I did that almost every week. And there were times when others were included in those promises. Family, I ain't gonna do this no more. I ain't gonna hurt y'all no more. I'm not gonna embarrass y'all no more. And here's what I wanna say. I meant it. I wasn't saying that to get people off my back. I wasn't saying that to try to get out of some kind of jackpot. I was saying it because I didn't want to live like that anymore. And so I'd be sitting there. I ain't doing it no more. I'm done. This is it. And then this would happen. I knock on the door, open the door. There's somebody standing there with a fifth, with a case, with whatever. Hey man, you want it? Let's go. Is everybody with me? Now, what we're talking about here is step one. We're talking about powerlessness. A real good definition of powerlessness is I pick up against my will. Against my will. We saw it in Bill's story, didn't we? Bill tried to use willpower to stay so. Let's try willpower. I just ain't doing it no more. I'm done. And I'm telling you, if you put a lie detector on me, the needle ain't gonna move. I'm not joking. I hear people say, this was my drink of choice. This was my drug of choice. I'm gonna tell you what it is for me. It's my drink of no choice. It's my drink of no choice. Because understand this, if I could choose not to, and many times I did, and not do it, I would not be sitting here with you now. I would not need this. If I could choose not to, that's why the statement, you'd rather be drunk than sober. It's as if you can choose whether or not you want to. That flies in the face of everything that this book teaches. It's not a matter of choice. It's a matter of powerlessness. And all I need to do is look at my own experience, not the person sitting next to you, not Dr. Bob, not Kent. Look at your own. What brought you here? What brought you here? Tell you what brought me here is an inability to stop this, no matter how necessary it was and no matter how much I wanted to. The book says the necessity or the wish. I told you I died. And they told me, if you keep this up, next time we're not going to be able to bring you back. And I can guarantee you, I didn't want to die no more that day than I do today. And when I said, God, I'm done, I mean it. I ain't doing this no more, and got loaded 2 hours out of the cardiac. I didn't do that because I'd rather be drunk than sober. I didn't do that as, well, I'm going to choose to do this, brother. No, I did it because I'm powerless. Now, if you ask me, Kent, I thought you said you weren't doing this no more. I would have said to you, I changed my mind. Because I got no explanation for it. I cannot explain to you how I sincerely didn't want to do this, and I did it. So here's my explanation. I changed my mind. And what it is alcoholism. It's the mental obsession to drink. A thought so powerful that it will override or overcome any thinking that I as a human being can raise as a defense against it. Willpower, self-knowledge, common sense, fear of consequences, tried them all. Got loaded every time. My dilemma is not a lack of will. I got a strong will. I've accomplished a lot of things in my life. It's not a lack of willpower. My dilemma is a lack of power, period. My dilemma is a lack of power. No matter how great the necessity of the wish, I cannot, on my own power, overcome the obsession to pick up. I cannot. And of course, once I pick up, then what happens? The physical kicks in, and then we off and running again. So I need to understand in step one what powerlessness means. And all I got to do, and if you're listening to me right now, look at your own life, look at your own experience. What brought you up in here? What brought you up in here? So Dr. Bob said he was sincere when he made them promises, just like I was, but got loaded anyway. For the benefit of those experimentally inclined. How many of you have tried the experiments? Well, every time, my father told me one time, he said, boy, you got to leave that brown liquor alone. He said, every time you get that stuff in you, he said, you end up in jail. I thought to myself, my father's a smart man. I'm going to get away from that brown liquor and go that white liquor. Y'all know what happened, don't you? Back to jail I went. Right? Well, I know what it is. I got to leave that liquor alone. I'm going to get on this wine. After I lost my car, fooling with that wine, I found out that wine is not the answer. So let's just get back on that beer, which is where I started at in the first place, right? We call this, today, I'm going to just smoke some weed. Now, I don't drink nothing, right? We call this changing seats on the Titanic. You can move from one side of the boat to the other, but baby, that thing is still sinking. Okay? Let's see what happened to Dr. Bob when he decides to change seats on the Titanic. For the benefit of those experimentally inclined, I should mention the so-called beer experiment. When beer first came back, he's talking about after Prohibition. I thought that I was safe. I could drink all I wanted of that. It was harmless. Anybody ever say that? Well, I could smoke a little bit of this, I could take a little bit. It's harmless. It's harmless. Nobody ever got drunk on beer. Lie number one. So I love this. I filled the cellar full. He ain't just gonna get a case. He filled the whole cellar. This should be an indicator that something is wrong, right? Well, yeah, you could drink some beer. Okay. Then you see a truck backing up the driveway. Right?
Yeah.
So I filled the cellar full with the permission of my good wife. Got her food. Got her food. Baby, I am not drinking that burger. I am not drinking that scotch. I'm going to just drink some beer. Oh, okay, cool, right? She don't know no better. It was not long, I love this, before I was drinking at least a case and a half a day. A case and a half a day. That's 36 bottles of beer a day. Not on the weekend because I was at the bachelor party or the birthday. No, at the wedding reception. No. A day. Why? Because once he puts alcohol in him, what happens to him? He experiences the phenomenon of craving, doesn't he? Let's go on. I put on 30 pounds of weight in about 2 months. Looked like a pig. He drank like one too. And was uncomfortable from shortness of breath. Now, here comes some real alcoholic thinking. Now, this is the point I want to make to you. Dr. Bob drank scotch. He was a scotch drinker, okay? Now he done gave up the scotch. He gonna drink this beer, okay? Changing seats on the Titanic, okay? Let's watch him go back to his preferred seat. Watch this. And this is classic alcoholic thinking. It then occurred to me that after one was all smelled up with beer, nobody could tell what had been drunk. So I began to fortify my beer with straight alcohol. Is everybody following this?
Beer and a shot.
Is everybody following this? It took him back to the thing he was trying to get away from. Is everybody with me? Because here's what happens, don't it? Well, I'm not going to drink no liquor. I'm going to just drink this beer. And you get some beer in you, and then here comes the thought. Yeah, that's all right, but I know what'll really get me there. Y'all follow me? Is everybody listening? When I came into this program, I came in here a full-blown alcoholic, also indulging in other substances. Okay? I'm going to just get personal for a minute. When I came here, I thought those other things were the problem. I really did. This is how sick I was. I had a liver that was distended about 6 or 7 inches. I was 32 years old. When my brother drove me down to Southern Ohio to go to treatment, I told him, I'm going to go deal with these other issues, but when you come back to pick me up in 28 days, you bring a case of cold beer. Is everybody following this? See, my disease, when I'm new, and this is why I need a sponsor and I need to stay close to these meetings, because this is the kind of head I come in here with. It's telling me, yeah, you know, you need to leave that alone, but there ain't nothing wrong with drinking a few beers. I got 7 DUI convictions at this point. 7 convictions, not arrests. I cannot see the forest for the tree. No, it ain't alcohol, no problem. It's this other stuff that's the problem, right? So I told my brother, you bring me a case of beer. My brother said, I'll bring it. Because in his adult life, he had never seen me without a beer in my hand. I really don't think he had. So they gave me, I was examined by the doctor when I went into detox. And I said, I'm in pretty good shape, ain't I? He said, yeah, for a 63-year-old man who's been drinking every day of his life. So I had this counselor. He was a guy who was sober 15 years. And I said to him, I just don't see where drinking's the problem. He says, they're getting ready to put you on some medication, or you're going to need a liver really, really soon, and you might need one anyway. That scared me a lot because I had cousins that have died of cirrhosis. So that kind of woke me up a little bit. And then I said to him, but it's not that, man. It's this other stuff that's the problem. He said to me, what do you do before you do that? I said, I drink. He said, well, if you didn't drink, then maybe you wouldn't do that. Is everybody following this? At this time, I don't know what alcoholism is. He knows that I can't even really connect the dots with that yet. But he knows this. My pattern of behavior for all them years was the same. Get paid, go to the bar, cash my check. Then I used to have to call dude on a pager. This is, some of y'all youngsters don't know what a pager is. But dude used to have a pager, right? And and this is what I would do every week. I'm gonna get personal. I would tell myself, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna cash my check, have a couple beers, and go home. I'd have a couple beers. This is the thought I used to have. I wonder what my boy doing. You know what he was doing? Sitting at home waiting on me to page him, because we do this every week. We do this every week, year after year after year. He's sitting on waiting. So I hit his pager. He calls back. Bartender hand me the phone. He like, where you at? I'm like, I'm over here. He'll be like, okay, I'll be there in a minute, or why don't you just roll through here? Either way, right? And the whole thing, is everybody seeing this? No mind or mood altering substance. I can't come in here playing them kind of games. Now, within 2 weeks of that, I was calling my brother and saying, because I've been going to these AA meetings every night and hearing people tell my story, do not bring no beer down here when you come to pick me up. He couldn't believe it. So what do you mean don't bring? I said, don't bring no beer. I can't drink a beer. I picked that up in here. Okay? And thus began my journey. My point in all this is, I can't change seats on the Titanic. I am sober. I have not taken any mind or mood altering substance or chemical since May 18th, 1992. None. Are we clear? Okay. We see it in the doctor's nightmare. What did he do? Start drinking, because I ain't gonna do this, right? And slide right back over in that seat. Maybe this little story will help somebody tonight. I don't know. I don't know that I've told it in this book study before, but that is my experience. Of course, the result was very bad, and that ended the beer experiment. About the time of the beer experiment, I was thrown in with a crowd of people. I got this highlighted, put a star by it, who attracted me because of their seeming poise, health, and happiness. Now, we talked about the early meetings in the chapter of Vision for You, didn't we? Right? What people found when they went to these meetings, how people were laughing and happy and enthusiastic about their lives. Okay? And it is attractive. And we talked about our own groups, didn't we? And is that what our groups look like? If new people show up, Do they make new friends? Is it somewhere that they will want to come back again? Is it fun? Are these people happy? Are they enjoying life? Is this what it looked like? I'm here to share with you. That's what it looked like to me when I got here. That's what made me want to come back. I was not attracted to the steps. I didn't know what the steps were. I was attracted to the spirit that is in the meetings. There was an old timer here. His name was Walter. Walter, we out at the Ohio Veterans Home right now. He lived here. I used to give Walter rides to meetings. Walter was sober, got sober in the 50s. And he was a rather salty individual. I guess that's the nicest thing I could say. Most people did not want to mess with Walter. He was very hard of hearing. He had those old-fashioned hearing aids that looked like earmuffs. And because he couldn't hear, he screamed everything that he said, which unnerved people in the meetings here. And I used to give Walter rides to meetings because I was salty and loud and not nice either. I liked Walter. And I was giving him a ride one day, and I said to him, Walter, I said, I don't know what it is, man, but no matter what happens to me in the course of the day, I always feel better after a meeting. Walter looked at me and he went, don't you know why that is, dummy? And I said, no, Walter, why is that? He said, what's the first thing we do at a meeting? Say the serenity prayer. He said, what's the last thing we do at a meeting? We say the Lord's Prayer. And he said, and God is in our midst, because when two or more gather together and invite God in the room, the Spirit is present. And he said, that's why you always feel better after a meeting. You've been sitting in the presence of Spirit. I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten that. That's why I always feel better after a meeting.
Good stuff. That's good stuff.
So, are meetings attractive? He's going to describe an early gathering here. Now, this is an Oxford group meeting, obviously. Dr. Bob is not yet sober, so AA has not yet been found. This is an Oxford group meeting, and those were the same meetings that were described in the chapter of Vision for You. So let's see what he says about the meeting. They spoke with great freedom from embarrassment. Didn't you find that in here when you came? I heard a lady say something at the very first AA meeting that I went to. I thought to myself, they're going to throw her out. You can't come in here and say nothing like that. And listen, I was embarrassed for her when she said what she said. Nobody said nothing like that. What happened was it went around the table and other people started sharing similar stuff. And I thought, man, what is wrong with y'all? This is stuff I wouldn't even admit to myself, much less sit in a room full of people I don't know and say, right? But it was attractive. There was a freedom here. Not only was there freedom here, but people were also sharing solutions here. They weren't just sitting talking about this lady's problem. They were talking about their experience, how they had had similar problems, and what they had done about it. So it wasn't just, a problem sharing meeting. It was a solution-based meeting. I saw all this at my first meeting. I did not have the ability at that time to vocalize to you what I saw because I didn't understand it. Here's what I can tell you. And just to make this real simple, I wanted to come to another meeting the next day. Okay? That's it. I wanted to come again. Okay? We're going to get into the traditions after we finish this, the doctor's nightmare, and we will talk a lot about our responsibility to provide this and how we do so as a group. But let's go on. And they seemed very much at ease on all occasions and appeared very healthy. They look good, didn't they? They look good. People in here look good. They look healthy. They wasn't gray and like I was, and about to fall over. And, no, they look good. More than these attributes, and here's a big one, they seem to be happy. Circle the word happy. I have had the privilege of working with a lot of people in Alcoholics Anonymous since May 18th of 1992. And what I can tell you, this is my experience. If I don't get happy in here, if I don't start enjoying this, I will not stay here.
That's right.
I will not stay here. It says earlier in the book, he will presently try the old game again, for he isn't happy about his sobriety. Listen, sobriety is life on life terms. Every day ain't a holiday and every meal ain't a banquet. But I'm going to tell you something. I wake up every day since I came into this fellowship, I wake up and I smile because I ain't got to live like that no more. Whatever it is that bothered me right now, it is going to pass. If you ask me what was the big thing when I was 3 years sober that I thought was the end of the world, I can't tell you what it was. I don't remember what it was. And obviously it wasn't the end of the world because here I sit. This too shall pass, whatever it is. I've got access to a power today that is greater than any problem that has come before me. I live under the grace, care, and protection of the God of my understanding today. I don't have to live like that no more. And yes, I am happy. I get perturbed like everybody else, but that now is the exception rather than the rule. You're talking to a guy whose nickname was Poison. I was not called that because of the joy that I was spreading around town. I was as miserable a human being as you've ever been around. I had nothing good to say. I thought nothing good. I told you, my mother said that when I walked into a room, the lights would dim. She told me, she said, you have the most negative aura of any human being I've ever met. I radiated anger, hatred, frustration, resentment. I just radiated it. Just radiated it. To go from that to how I am today and how I see life today, how I approach life today, is absolutely beyond anything that I ever believed could be possible. If you would have told me when I came here that the life I live, and I'm not talking about materially, I'm talking about my attitude, my outlook on life, the way I see other people. If you would have told me that my life would be today like it is, I would have laid in the floor and busted out laughing. You would have never convinced me that it could be possible. I would have never believed it. And I'm not talking external stuff. I'm talking about what happens in here as the result of these steps.
Amen.
That's what I'm talking about. was self-conscious and ill at ease. What I got written by this is newcomer. And I got this here for a reason. Listen to this. I was self-conscious and ill at ease most of the time. My health was at the breaking point, and I was thoroughly miserable. How many people does that describe you when you came here? Right? Exactly. So I want to remember when new people come in here and they raise their hands, that's where they're at. So when I approach them, right, I need to know how best to be able to help them. And I know best how to be able to help you by meeting you where you are. Not where I think you ought to be. Somebody brand new. Man, what's wrong with you with that long face on? You should be happy. You up in... Really? Really?
You had a wife like I did.
No.
Of course.
It takes time. And it takes a consistent and persistent effort to apply these steps to my life. It will come. And I'll tell you this, in a short time here, I was happy just through physical sobriety. Just not being drunk and loaded, you know, have a paycheck. Now, I still was not at all spiritual, nor was I behaving very well. But I was better, I felt better than I had previous. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Right? Now that won't last. Eventually, I'm either gonna have to do this deal or that misery is gonna run me back out of here again. Okay? And again, I'm not saying you gotta be happy every second, every moment. But I'll tell you something that they told me when I came here, and when they told me that, because I used to think a lot of times, these people ain't wrapped too tight. But, you know, I went to college, so, you know, maybe I have a little advantage. But they used to say you could be as happy as you want to be. Has anybody ever heard that? You can be as happy as you want to be.
Misery is an option.
What makes me unhappy? Usually because I'm afraid I'm not going to get something I think I got to have, or I'm going to lose something I can't do without. It's usually fear. Fear is at the root of all of that. If I have faith and I have belief in this power, and we agnostics, what does it say? God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What was our choice to be? If I truly do believe, then whatever it is ain't bigger than the God of our understanding. Be as happy as you want to be. You can rejoice when they shut your lights off. Open a can of pork and beans. Go get the lights back on. Go get the lights back on. They take your car. They still making them. You be as happy as you want to be. It is a choice. Do I believe? Or do I not believe? Not believing when I get in them points where I don't believe, and I have those moments, that's when it comes. Contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Not how long I've been here. Not how many meetings I go to. All those things are nice. Not who I know, not what I know, not what I could quote out of the book, but my spiritual condition. And sometimes I think that's gotten lost with the flurry of activity and the wide range of information being disseminated in here and all the stuff we do, I got to remember this starts here and comes out. It doesn't come from out in. I lived my whole life trying to get it from out in. Outside solutions do not address an internal condition. It starts here and it comes out. We will talk a lot more about that on the other end of this thing. All right?
Good stuff, Kent.
I sensed that they had something I did not have from which I might really profit. Then, when I first came in and people was happy and they was talking about the steps and all that, I was burning up with jealousy. I used to go down to the club in the morning and then people were so happy I wanted to kill them all. And I was jealous because I wanted what they had.
Julie,
Not
that was you.
Every morning.
But I won't let them get close to me and I won't do anything they suggest.
Yeah.
But I want what they got, right? So I'm sitting in the corner stewing and I'm looking at them and I used to think this, I will stay sober just to show you that I can do it.
How well did that work, Julie?
I will stay sober just to show you. Now obviously that won't last long, right? Because I don't have that kind of power. But that's what I would be thinking. Because they had something. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to get it. Not then. But it was very apparent to me that they had something that was very attractive, and I wanted it. I wanted it. Wasn't ready to do it yet, but I wanted it. Let's go on. I learned that it was something of a spiritual nature, which did not appeal to me very much, but I thought it could do no harm. I saw the steps, and having been raised up in church, my first thought was kind of like, oh no, not again. And then it was like, why not try it? There was one thing I think I understood when I came, and again, it wasn't something that I said out loud. I don't even know if I could have said it out loud, was that I understood that I had to do something different than what I had always done. I had to do something different than what I had always done. Because what I had always done never worked.
Right.
So something was going to have to change. Didn't really understand how it would take place, but something was going to have to change. And since I saw God all over the place, honestly, my attitude was, what do I got to lose? I had come to believe, because I would go to church, but I never changed anything. I never did anything they said to do, that wouldn't work for me. But I never did anything, right? I could go and sit down today and listen to them and hear all 12 of the steps and exactly how we should be living our lives. I always tell people, my mother, they taught us all this when we was kids. This ain't nothing new. The 12 steps, these are spiritual principles. They're ancient. They're thousands of years old. They started in 1935. People have been living like this for the longest time. I just rejected it. I wouldn't do it. So I thought, how cool, I'll do it. Maybe it might work. It works for them. And slowly I came to believe it would, because I kept coming to lots of meetings and I kept listening. If you knew right now, please listen to me. I kept coming to lots of meetings. I kept listening and I kept hearing me over and over and over. And I kept hearing the same solution over and over and over. And I came to believe that if it happened for you, because I'm like you, then it should happen for me too. Did that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
One of the great benefits of coming to a lot of meetings and listening. And I learned how to listen in here. They told me when I came, there's a big difference between listening and waiting for your turn to talk. If you wait for your turn to talk, you're thinking about what you're going to say because you want to sound profound at an AA meeting, for God's sake. And so while you're thinking about what you're going to say, you miss everything everybody else said. Come in here, get your cup of coffee, get your donut, and just listen. Take the pressure off yourself. When it's time for you to talk, you will. You will. Okay? But come in here and listen. And that's what happened to me. I came in here, I wouldn't talk to you because I didn't know you. So I just came in here and listened. I did the same thing I did in the street. I watched and I listened. I watched and I listened. I gave the matter much time and study for the next 2.5 years. So what Dr. Bob is telling us is he attended these Oxford group meetings for the next 2.5 years, and he gave it a lot of time and what? What did it say? Study. Okay? Now,
Girls.
I've seen a lot of people do that here. Come in here and study.
Yeah.
But they never apply what they study. And so tonight they sitting somewhere drunk explaining to somebody the disease concept of alcoholism. Why do you drink so much? Well, I have a mental obsession and a physical allergy to alcohol once I take a drink. If I don't apply the solution, studying means nothing. Knowledge unapplied is useless. So Dr. Bob, for 2.5 years, studies. He reads, right? Let's finish this paragraph. He said, I gave the matter much time and study for the next 2.5 years, but I still got tight every night nevertheless. So obviously, meeting attendance and intellect do not equal recovery.
Right.
Meeting attendance and intellect do not equal recovery. So 2 years he goes to these meetings, does not get sober. In New York, Bill Wilson starts going to those meetings. So when Bill Wilson comes to New York, comes to Akron, he's been going to these meetings for 6 months. Dr. Bob been going for 2 years and 6 months. Bill Wilson is sober. Dr. Bob is not. What was the difference? Bill had applied some principles to his life and was seeking to be helpful to others. Bill had applied some principles to his life and was seeking to be helpful to others. Dr. Bob was simply gathering information and intellect.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can come here. I've had great friends here who knew this book better than I ever will. I'm picturing one of them in my mind right now. And he's gone. And I don't mean out of town. And I can think of many, many more. I don't know why, but his face just popped into my mind. But he could stand up at a meeting and he could make a comment after a speaker that would bring tears to your eyes. He could wax this book. He could throw paper. He could not stay sober to save his life, and it did not. So Dr. Bob was taking the intellectual route, right? Intellect without action, and he continues to drink. Got to be careful of that in here. There's a lot of book study, weekend workshops. There's just tons of information being disseminated in this fellowship. And that's great, as long as I take those things and apply them. Recovery is in my feet. It is not in my head.
Amen.
It is in my feet. I read everything I could find and talked to everyone who I thought knew anything about it. I get a lot of calls from people. People walk up to me and they'll ask me to recommend readings to them and all kinds of intellectual stuff. And I'm the kind of guy, like, I'll just dummy it down and I'll like, from the time you wake up in the morning, tell me what you do. From the time you wake up in the morning, tell me what you do. Because that's what's important. Not what I read, not where I go, not who I know. From the time you wake up in the morning, what do you do? My first sponsor's favorite thing to say to me was, I will train your feet to move against your head.
Love it.
Move a message, change of thought.
And I think he did. All right. Mark that.